Hello, LinkedIn. I'm so happy to be live today. I'm going to be testing something real quick. So last Friday, Jake Dunlap went live, and at the same time, his LinkedIn profile changed. And I want to see if it works for me. So we're going to pause for a second. Please let me know where you're coming from if you're joining us. I'm so happy to have people join us, but people get busy, and that's fine too. We can always catch the replay. So if you're joining us in the replay, please let me know, because I love to interact with posts after the fact. So no, I don't see it. So I'm gonna have to ask Jake about that. Maybe he's just special. Maybe he gets special LinkedIn Live features that I don't get. He is Jake Dunlap. So I'm gonna have to reach out to him about that. But I've got Travis with me, and Travis has LinkedIn Live too, which I think is totally awesome. He did a LinkedIn Live the other day riding his Peloton, which I thought was super cool. So we've got some people here. We've got, I bet you that's Janet from Michigan. I've got Pratik from India. So happy to see you guys. Always happy when people make time to join these. I sort of scheduled them so that it's on the East Coast, maybe a little bit of your lunchtime, on the West Coast, that maybe it's just like a little bit of coffee, but I'm not sure what time it is in India. So I really appreciate you if you're joining me from India. So Travis, so happy to see you.
So happy to see you.
Yeah, thank you for joining me.
Of course, there's a little echo, but it's good now, and I'm super excited to be here. And I did check the LinkedIn Live in the banner, and I didn't see. So yeah, there might be a special little magic button that Jake has that we don't have access to yet.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. So someone's telling me, do I have new lighting or new hair color? That's what Travis said too. It's not a new hair color. My hair color really hasn't changed in 20 years. It's literally the same color.
I think it's just the glow up of the day, Jen. It's just the glow.
Yeah, I do have some studio lighting. You see how my hands look all like studio lighting. But I don't have anywhere near the tech that Travis there has. I was telling him when
it's
he
just
came
a microphone.
I know, but I need one of those microphones. I want to sound super clear and crisp like you do. So
it's a fun journey. For if anyone is interested, happily we'll do a LinkedIn Live on audio gear. I literally, if this mic goes out, I can just pull another one into the screen. Yeah, there's a whole bunch here that
You see, and you've been working on your mics, and I've been working on my lighting. So yeah, I'll have to learn more about that. I'll have to tune in for that LinkedIn Live. So Travis, for anyone who doesn't know you, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and who you are, because I think you're pretty amazing. And so I want to share you with the world.
Oh, well, thank you. My background, I'm from Delaware. I'm born and raised in the 302. And I really found a passion in the last few years for, bringing people together and understanding human connection at a different level. And there was a lot of just self-discovery from, work events or life events that always have found a way to just teach me something, even if I didn't necessarily know at the time what it was supposed to be teaching me. And I've kind of just built an, I guess, less traditional path to everything I do, whether that's from how I decide to take notes during a meeting, or my methodology for creating a podcast, or doing and making career decisions that make no sense to anybody but me. There's just a constant form of learning that happens. And I've just kind of really leaned into the fact that I'm a student always and have really found a love for teaching people how to build better and deeper connections with each other.
That's amazing, and I love that. I'm a big fan of the concept of always be learning, always being a student, and just sort of, adapting and growing and changing as life evolves. And I think, especially during the pandemic, that's been like super crystal clear for people that look, you have to figure it out. You have to change with the times. We've got a couple comments here. So Travis, King of Mics, Diana George from Philly is joining us for the first time, her first LinkedIn Live. So that's amazing.
Hi, Diana.
People commenting on your perfect audio. So obviously I need to level up. Just tuned in. Good to see you, Jen. I'm always happy to see. I have a lot of people who are showing up as LinkedIn user. I wonder if that's something about your settings where it doesn't allow me to see it on StreamYard, which, that's pretty interesting. So you might want to expose it if you'd like, or not. It doesn't really matter. I will catch you when I go back to the comments. But that learning and growing. So back to what we're talking about, I think is so important. We met in a time in my life where I was specifically looking for connection, right? And during the pandemic, early on, like looking for that sense of community and people who are like-minded and just trying to find like my way to still be connected, even though we were all very like remote and at home. And so there was this emergence of like sales communities, which I loved. I mean, I participated like in all of them. Like I'm like, give me another community. Let me, how many communities can I sign up for at one time, right? Mm-hmm. And it was funny because one of the particular communities, like my like thoughts of where it should be going versus, the leadership of that community were different. And so they brought Travis on to sort of, talk it out, which was pretty cool, because what initially felt like, oh man, now I'm having this call about a community, turned into like an opportunity where I felt like really heard and really sort of validated, like, okay, I understand this is your perception, and then that might be different. And how often does that happen even in work scenarios, where you have a certain perception in a certain direction you think things should go in, but it's not necessarily aligned with either leadership or your leader or, just the vision of the organization. So it was really interesting to me that we had met in that way. And then, of course, I followed it up because, you just seemed like the most awesome person ever. You turned what could have been like very negative into something super positive for me. And I thought that was just so valuable. So I'm happy to know you, Travis.
I'm happy to know you, Jen. And I actually have a question on that.
Yeah.
I was journaling last night, and when I say journaling, I was scribbling on note cards as I had an idea that couldn't get away from me. And one of them was, what does it feel like to be heard?
Yeah.
So I was like, that's a great question based on what you just mentioned about how we met, right? So could you share a little bit about what it feels like to be heard?
Yeah, that's really interesting because, last night I was reflecting on that moment too, knowing that you were coming on today. And I would say in my like lifetime, only a handful of times did I like legitimately feel heard. Like someone saying, okay, I understand your perspective, and let me share with you what I heard from what you said in a way that I'm like giving it back to you. Because that's what you did, was like, okay, I'm hearing you. This is how I'm ingesting it. Here it is, right? Is that accurate? And there was something about that piece that made me feel heard, right? And I don't know, the handful of times that I felt like truly heard, I think it's something like that, or a shared history or a shared experience, right? Because even after that, you and I got on a call and then eventually did a podcast, right? And there were a couple instances there when we were talking about culture and sort of the different types of connection, or when I shared, sort of what my kids do in school with that bucket filler concept.
Got to fill your bucket.
Got to fill your bucket. That's, that are basically those moments. So, what do you think? Like, when have you felt heard?
Great question. This is it. Talking to Mama Dukes.
Really?
And today is her birthday.
Oh.
So happy birthday, Mama Dukes. If you are watching this, I love you. And if you watch this because you creep on my LinkedIn but don't like my stuff, I still love you. When I'm talking to my mom, it doesn't matter what I'm talking about. Could be Rocky, could be my back, could be losing my job. It could be relationship things. It could be, Mom, I need to figure out my diet again. Like, what do I do? And she's like, you have a notebook for that. I'm like, right. And it's just the groundedness of having someone that knows me so well that when I talk to her, it doesn't matter what I say. It's, I love you. You are the best thing in the world. There's nothing that can stop you. There's nobody that should make you feel like you're lesser than. All of these things just come up consistently. And when I talk to my mom is when I feel the most heard. And it's because I had to think. I was like,
yeah.
Because historically, I haven't felt like I've been heard, right?
Yeah,
Like,
no, it's not it's not an easy thing. I talk to people all day long, but when are those moments where I specifically feel heard? Like, I went through a brutal job hunt, like brutal. But then I met the CEO of my company now, and a lady CEO looking at me, taking in all my qualifications, called me a sparkly unicorn. And in that moment, I was like, you see me, I am a sparkly unicorn. And, and after having people sort of like during Zooms, like look away, turn their camera off, could tell totally not paying attention, like the probing for what is wrong with you as opposed to what is right with you. All of that stuff that I experienced during that job hunt is that moment of, oh, you see where I bring value and recognize me, and I will just go to the ends of the earth for you, right? Because you did that. So it's like one on my list of 5. Oh, you're getting the glasses on, serious now.
Oh yeah, when I hit a certain brain frequency, I'm like, oh, this is gonna turn into a notebook page. Because I was thinking, I was like, because people ask me, they're like, Travis, what are you doing? Like, you looked away from the screen, and I mean, this. Yeah. I take notes all the time, right? So I'm always learning. So for me, one of our friends from our sales happy hour, Ashley, was like, Travis, how do you not have a digital notebook yet? And I'm like, I don't know. So I literally got this little digital thing where I can take a picture of it and then shoots it up to the cloud, whether it be my Evernote or my Google Drive. But I was like, you know what? You should make one for this episode. Like, see what you both learn together and see what you can make. So now I'm excited to keep going and just jot down ideas as we go on this new notebook so we can share it with people as a resource after.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, and we've got a comment here that Jen, that is the definition of belonging. And I would agree, right? It's that feeling of being heard. The thing is, how infrequent does that happen in your life? You know, this episode I titled about community, right? And to me, community at the end of the day is connection, because during the pandemic, while I joined all of those, like tons of communities, like another community sign me up, like I'm all in on all of them, right? And so, but what the value to me that I got out of those communities, because I'm not even a part of all of them still, is the people that I kept. Like I kept the people and continue to build on those relationships, even though I left that community. And so community to me at the end of the day is that connection, right? So anyone who's watching, right, if you want to share experiences of when you've been heard or where you felt like you were part of something, like that belonging of something greater than yourself, please, I'd love to hear from the audience, you know, those times where you felt heard, because I think this is really an interesting thing because it's happened so infrequently for me. And for you, you know, Mama Dukes, right? Happy birthday to her. But, you know, she gives you that. So I think it's a really interesting thing. So tell me, Travis, what does, you know, you have the podcast Community Builder. What does community mean to you? Because I've said what it means to me.
Yeah. So when I think of community in this moment, I think of a safe, shared space for people to get what they need on a spiritual level.
Mm.
There's a lot of interest-based communities, and that's great. And I think what is driving people into a community typically is something they're still trying to figure out. And so instead of thinking, oh, like community is that it means it's this group of people who live in this zip code, or it's these people who all do this particular activity, those are all communities. The thing I think that I believe now is like what's happening is I'm being more drawn to what's inside. And I can see based on what's happening in activities, right? I can look at someone's LinkedIn or someone's Instagram and be like, ooh, I was there. I know what that feels like. And
Yeah.
so I'm looking a lot more internally for the people that have not felt heard, feel like they have something more to say that they haven't been able to say yet. The ones that feel like they're misunderstood, the ones that feel like they're the outcasts, the ones that feel like there's never been a place built specifically for them. All of these new people are going to either try to find a community or build their own. So,
well, yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, people find people, right? People find the people they connect with and that they can grow with and who bring value to each other. And I also, I mean, during the pandemic, because I mean, when I think about what was I really searching out by joining, like, you know, every community, like known to the sales, right? Was I was looking for like-minded people who I can connect with on an emotional level. And then even, you know, with my LinkedIn Live, right? When I started it, first of all, I was so surprised that, you know, I got approved and then I got approved. And I'm like, well, you know, how can I elevate as many women as possible? Right. So now I've done that. Like I've brought in so many different women to showcase their voices. Now I'm like, okay, so how can I get male leaders more engaged to talk about the same topics that I'm talking about with the women? So now I've got one one avenue where I'm trying to get as many women as possible, and then one avenue where I'm trying to get as many men to hear what we're saying or to talk about the things we're saying, right? To impact change. And I think that is, also building a community. But how do we get, like, you have that experience with your Mama Dukes. I had that experience with you and a couple of other instances. How do we get more people heard?
So one of the most interesting things that I think I could share on how to get people heard is a little bit about what happened to me to enable me to speak. It's almost as
Okay.
if you've been silenced by this thing that you don't know what it is or why it's silencing you, but you don't feel the need to share whatever you're holding inside.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to give you an example. I'm an African-American male. I worked in tech. So I've had a lot of friends that have literally said, I've had coworkers come up to me and ask me if I heard the Beyonce song. Which Beyonce song? The new one. Which new one? The album, the specific song from a movie, like which? Well, no, don't you like Jay-Z and Beyonce? So do a million other people. Well, what I meant to say was you like hip hop, right? Well, no. What I meant to say is like you live in Brooklyn and you like hip hop, and you I see you on the Peloton, like you do your thing, but and I'm like, this is all accurate. Why are you talking to me like the only thing you could talk to me about is hip hop? Well, I'm sorry. It's okay. I'm just messing with you. Well, no, I want to understand you, but I'm like, well, you made an assumption. And if I went to say, hey, I asked Jen how her country concert was last weekend, I'm in HR immediately. I have a meeting. Travis, what did you say? Well, Jen has an album of Tim McGraw in her backdrop. So I asked her how her concert was, but then I didn't know what was happening in Jen's life to cause the concert to actually be a negative experience that I surfaced at work to cause us to be in this meeting right now. So like two completely different examples, but you got to think about the stories that cause people to not say things, because either A, when we say things, nothing happens, right? Like I could say, my manager disrespected me, or my coworker said this about me, or whatever it is. But for some reason, when it came from Trav, it wasn't valid. And meanwhile, if most of the community listening knows who I am, they'd be like, that can't be right. Meanwhile, I'm unprofessional. I'm hard to deal with. I'm aggressive. I make people feel uncomfortable by the way I look at them. My language isn't the same as theirs. My swagger is different. I have a grit hat on and a Park Slope Brooklyn hoodie with a Peloton and an NBC microphone, in the same screen. All these random things that someone will find something to say something about. And I can't just sit here and be like, can I just try to be excellent in anything? Or are you just going to get mad at me for whatever the reason is? And so kind of long-winded answer, But I think you have to go through all of these moments to just be like, am I the issue here? And if I'm not the issue here, does anybody else want to talk to their friends? Or should
Yeah.
I be the one that talks to my friends? And then should I be the one that talks to the companies about how their people talk to each other? Or should I be the one mediating conversations that should be helping people feel heard rather than feeling like they did something wrong? And it's, Jen, it's weekly where I'll hear one of my sales friends be like, yeah, my manager just like, he's just telling me to do all these things. But like, I had to go to the doctor last week because I had more anxiety than I've ever had. And I like had to take a day off from work because I got these weird shivers and I'm just trying to calm down, but I'm not hitting my quota at work. And I'm like, you're getting physically sick? And they were like, yeah. I was like, well, does your manager know this? Well, no, I'm afraid to tell them because if I tell them, I think I'll get fired.
Mm.
And so a really big piece of it, Jen, is how do we elevate conversations like this and stories like some of the ones I just went through to get leaders, most importantly, to understand that if you have people that's are just not making any sense at work, right? You got people discombobulated in meetings. You got someone showing up to do a project that should have been done 3 months ago, but they still think it's a new project. All the crazy stuff. Like if you just stopped and said, hey, how's everyone feeling today? On a scale of 1 to 10, where are you at? And you'll be surprised at what you hear. Some people will give you a 4. And if you know if you're below a 7 on a scale of 1 to 10, there's going to be another conversation that has to happen based on that feeling. So if anyone's below a 7, which I'm going to guarantee there's at least half of your company or community that are below a 7, probably below a 5, to be honest. Mm-hmm. And they're not getting this from anywhere else. So it's trying to figure out a way to elevate, hey, what you think is wrong should actually be talked about. And you have to, this is a great point by Sophia. So I'll shut up now. But yeah, you have to highlight what's going on.
What you're saying is very valid. It is so valid. And I have my own experiences, which I'm sure are very different than your experiences, right? That like, while it resonates with me, it's still different. And so Sophia shares, I'm loving how real this conversation is. Being biracial, I've been both the bridge that was able to have the conversation between the races and the awkward person that was avoided because there was tension and nobody knew my position. So, and that resonates with me as well. So thank you for sharing that, Sophia. Sophia actually works with me over at Inside Out, and she is amazing. I wrote an article this month that is basically a sales culture reality check for SaaS Sales IO. I'll drop it in the comments. But it's some of the stories that I've personally experienced, but also like women in sales have shared with me, since I've been more vocal. But I know that my experiences are different, right? Than someone who, like yourself, like everyone of color, that what they're experiencing, and especially out in the world, right? I don't have to worry that if I'm pulled over that I'm going to die. That's just, I don't. And so I will never know what that feels like.
Yeah. And also this is one thing I also want to touch on really quickly.
Yeah.
I feel like there's always been this, and for my whole life, I've been this way. Like even in the tech world, like there's, that everyone's put into a box with a label on it. And so one of the things that I always think about that I love about music and being creative, stories and experiences are just like colors. Like, so I know I'm Black. I know you're a woman, right? we can see that. We all know that. And so I'm like, and if we could just get that conversation and just be like, yeah, my experiences are a little blue and Jen's are a little yellow, but that's cool though. I like yellow and I like blue. And you just drop like, because I've been in, you know, the black and tech conversations. Well, we shouldn't be categorized as black because we should just be excellent professionals versus well, why should we have to categorize ourselves as women? Why can't we just categorize ourselves as CEOs? Like, I don't want to be a woman CEO. And
people just want to be people. I get it. People, and just like some of your stories can resonate with me, some of mine can resonate with you, but we all have our unique, perspective and our own unique history and all the things that make us us, whether it's our education, our family, our background, where we're from, where we live now, all the things that have impacted us through our lives, those are all unique, and especially to us, right? And that's part of what makes us special. And the value of diversity of thought is that everyone brings what they know and what they've experienced to the table. And, no two people are alike. Just because I'm a woman, a white woman, another white woman doesn't have the same experiences, don't have the same things. Just like with you, everyone brings their own unique insights, and you can't know what someone's experiences are until you ask. Oh, and so I love that comment too. Why can't I just be excellent? Travis King. That is.
Tell me your community, your sisters. I'll tell you your future. Sisters build your character. Ooh,
that's a good
I can
one.
hear that on a song right now.
Yeah.
Tell me your community you're associated with, and I'll tell you your future. Association builds character. Ooh.
Yeah, that's really good. It is really good. We're already over time. I'm always amazed how fast this goes.
I'm over here like this. I'm like, wait,
it feels like we just got it started, right? It's a bummer. I'm gonna have you come back so we can talk about some other topic that we can go totally off base on. So tell me, if you had one takeaway for the audience that you would like to share with them, what would it be around community and just connection and whatever you'd like to share?
How often are you feeling heard? And if you feel the answer is not what you'd like it to be, go find somewhere that you can feel heard, or find someone that you feel will hear you.
That's so great. And that's it's an excellent point. Until the first couple times, those first instances where I felt heard, right? I had never had that experience before, and so for me, it was like, wait a second, like you understand me. Are there more people like you who understand me? You know what I mean? Just like the time, I listened to the book Untamed, right? And I listen to books on my morning walk. And there's a story in that book about a cheetah. And the cheetah is, best friends with the dog. It's over at Busch Gardens. And they train the dog to chase after this Jeep, following this dirty little rabbit, right? And then the cheetah sort of mimics the same behavior. And then they put the cheetah in the cage. And this goes back to what you're saying about boxes and labels, right? And the cheetah, who's grown up in captivity, you would think they wouldn't know that they, are caged. But there the cheetah is, walking the boundary of the cage, knowing that there's something more, or there's supposed to be something more. And every time I listen to that, I'm like crying tears, walking around my neighborhood, like, what is wrong with you? But there's something about that. And it's that when you bust out of the cage and you connect with the people who understand you, that there's this feeling that you don't feel otherwise. So anyway, so Thank you so much for joining me. I think this was such a good conversation. Deep, but really good. Deep.
Thanks for having me, Jen. It was so much fun, and I can't wait to come back for next time and to share all of the amazing goodies that will be coming out from you. And so Jen's got a little secret pack of a few episodes that will be coming out on a few of my different platforms. So stay tuned for that. And I also feel like there's something else coming up this week, right, Jen?
Oh, yes. I have Ladies Happy Hour tomorrow night, and I've got an amazing panel of just fabulous women and sales leaders. I've got Hannah, I've got Michelle, Katie Ray from Sales Hacker, Julie from Inside Out, Heidi Laws, Shannon Sellis, if you don't know her Disney songs, gotta check out Shannon's Disney songs. Joyce Johnson, who wrote the book No Backdoors for Me. I've got like these amazing ladies who are gonna come to talk about finding your tribe. So, you know, back in the day when the guys went from the golf club to the boardroom, you know, the idea that women can find their tribe and find those women who are going to support and elevate them is so important to me. But also that male leaders and everybody come and listen to these different perspectives to understand what it's like to be a fly on the wall during a ladies' happy hour and understand, you know, the issues that impact us. So tune in for that. And then next week I have Lydia Sugarman about her journey to being a CEO for Ventive. And I think that's going to be amazing. So thank you everyone for joining us. I am actually going to share a tidbit from a previous ladies happy hour so you can get an idea of what that's all about. Thank you, Travis. I appreciate you.
Of course. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Jen.
First beginning now. And people say, if I would have known back then what I know now, no, like I had to hit rock bottom for so many reasons. I always say, like, if rock bottom had a basement, I found it. If I had to go through all of that shit to be able to come out on the other side and to look back and say, now I see why it all happened that way. Now I can connect the dots. This is why it happened this way. This was the ripple effect. And I'm stronger for it, and I'm a better mother, and I'm a better career professional, and I'm a better friend, better daughter, better coach, you know, better whatever, then that's my lesson. So all I can say is just to finish off, and then I promise I'll stop. School gives you the lesson before the test. Life gives you the test before the lesson. And I have no regrets for that.
Yeah, that is so true. That is so true.
What a way, like what a way to wrap it up, Michelle.